everyone. My name's Lily. You know, I've recently had a chance to start my life over again, and it has become the weirdest period of my life so far, but I regret nothing. Well, almost nothing. My family had to move to another town because of my dad's new job, and I accordingly switched to another totally unfamiliar school. I was pretty sure that I'd have some trouble blending in, and it made me really nervous. On my first day there, I was so distracted and lost that I didn't even see a guy standing right in front of me, so I kind of ran smack into him and fell to the ground. This made everybody around start laughing and giggling, and I felt like totally embarrassed. He helped me to stand up and made a joke that this was the weirdest way a girl has ever tried to find out what his name was. I cracked a half smile and got out of there as fast as I could, feeling how my face was already starting to turn bright red. But I heard him shouting his name. It was Jay, and I found myself realizing just how handsome he was. Later that day, when I was already in the school cafeteria, I saw him again. But this time, he wasn't surrounded by a bunch of other people. It was the opposite, actually. He was sitting alone at a lunch table, reading something. I decided to go up to him and get acquainted, since so far he was the only person at this new place that I talked to. But when I actually got up closer to him and asked whether the seat next to him was taken or not, he looked at me as if we'd never met before. I felt offended inside. I mean, I know that I was new to that school, but was I really that invisible? I said that I was sorry for not telling him my name earlier, but it was Lily, by the way, and he said, "Good for you?" Still keeping his eyes glued to the book, his manners in that moment had me really confused. I couldn't figure out what else I should say, or whether I should have said anything at all, so I just grabbed my tray and walked away feeling sort of mad and a little humiliated. Who was he to talk to me like that? Strangely enough, I couldn't stop thinking about him for the rest of the day. The next couple of days at school were pretty intense, and I hadn't seen Jajay at all, but I had started to chat with some other girls from my class, and it was starting to look almost like the beginning of a friendship, I thought. Then, on Thursday, when these girls and I were having lunch, I saw him again. He was probably saying something funny because everybody around was in tears laughing. Maybe he was really strange. I thought acting like a clown, and then like a distant, mysterious guy at the same time. Was it a bipolar disorder? Anyway, he still looked very attractive to me. Later that day, when I had already packed up to go home, I heard a car horn and somebody shouting. I turned around and saw JJ. He drove up to me and said he insists on driving me home. I hesitated for a couple of seconds, but when I saw his smile, I just gave up. He talked the entire way, telling me some school-related stories about the other students and teachers and staff. I decided not to say anything about his strange behavior in the cafeteria a few days earlier. You know, everything already seemed to be perfect, and I felt like I was falling for him. The next day it was Friday, and I was really looking forward to seeing JJ at school again, but unfortunately, it was another busy day, so I just couldn't pause long enough to make it happen. But a big rugby game was scheduled for that evening after classes, and the girls and I decided to go and see it. Actually, the whole school was going because our team was playing against their biggest rival, as they told me. So I thought he'd also definitely be there when everything had already started. I finally saw him a few rows higher, but when I was about to wave at him, I saw a girl next to him, and suddenly she hugged him. I was devastated. I mean, why would he drive me home the day before if he already had a girlfriend? If he was a womanizer? For sure, I was not okay with that. I spent the rest of the game feeling jealous and really confused. When I was leaving the stadium, I had already made up my mind to not have any kind of conversation with him anymore. So, imagine my surprise when he showed up once again asking to give me a ride. He said it was Friday, and he was going to ask me to go out with them. It was really scandalous. This time I told him everything, both about that situation in the cafeteria and about that girl hugging him like an hour ago. He looked confused and said he didn't understand what I was talking about, but I didn't care. I said that this was it for us, and made my way home as fast as I could. Oddly enough, I couldn't stop my eyes from filling up with tears. Later that night, I was home when the doorbell rang. I opened the door, and I thought I was going crazy because I saw two JJ in front of me. There were a couple of seconds of silence, and then the three of us broke into laughter. Yeah, How could I miss the fact that he might have had a twin brother? Everything fell into place. Since then, we've all been hanging out together with some other guys from school. It was really fun, and I felt like I was finally part of a group of friends. And I was proud that my socializing at this new place was going so well. But this is still not the end of the story. If you have ever hung out with twins before, you know how different they can be even though they look very similar to each other. The same goes for GJ and Daniel. I mean, I know that JJ is funny and the life and soul of the party, but once I got closer to Daniel, I realized that he turned out to be much closer to me in terms of my interests and views and stuff. And even though I've been sort of dating JJ, I haven't been able to stop thinking about Daniel. And I could swear that he likes me too, because you know, the way he looks at me and stuff. To be honest, he even seemed to be more into relationships than his brother. This is why at some point I decided to have a serious talk with JJ. I've never wanted anyone to think of me as a flirty young thing who is playing one brother against the other. And I told Jajay I was really sorry for confusing him, and that I liked him a lot, but that I don't feel for him anything like I do for Daniel. I was prepared for the worst reaction from him, but he just sighed. He said that his brother had already confessed to having fallen in love with me, but he didn't want to mess it up for the two of us. He was mad at Daniel at first, but now, since I had decided to tell him about my true feelings, JJ didn't want to ruin my potential future with his brother. He said that he'd survive his broken heart, gave me a smile, and just left. Now, I can happily say that it's been almost a year since Daniel and I have been dating, and we are really happy together. JJ is cool with it. He's also been dating a nice girl, but sometimes he jokes that I was his only true love. I mean, I hope it's just a joke. Now, everybody, please feel free to share your love stories in the comments below. It would be nice to hear from you, and don't forget about giving a like to this video. Bye!